Everybody, Bruce McGonigal here. So I'm right again. Nanaimo put in an injection site outside of City Hall in Old Nanaimo because they have a huge homeless population they allowed to set up there. And things are now so bad that they have arson attacks, they have attacks on employees, threatening, harassing, smashing into vehicles. Theft obviously is a big one. Community decay, human feces all over the place, needles all over the place. And staff feel so scared that the mayor says he has a responsibility to make sure that the staff of City Hall and the property is protected. That's right, folks. They put an injection site in to save lives. It turned the community into a complete Clockwork Orange gong show. And instead of removing the injection site to protect the community and bring back order to a once beautiful area of the city, the mayor has decided he wants to build a 1.8 meter iron fence around the property. So protect the politicians and the bureaucrats and leave everybody else to fend for themselves. That's exactly what they want to do. It's going to cost $410,000+ to build this. And then, of course, they're going to have to maintain it and everything else like that because you know that people are going to be throwing things at it and starting fires around it and everything else like that. When I warned people that injection sites would only encourage more drug addiction and encourage violence and encourage community decay, I was not lying. I grew up in foster care. I grew up watching my sister go through addiction. I personally went through addiction for a while. I know that there are problems that cannot be solved by enabling addiction. It's that simple. You have to put a line in the sand and say, we can't tolerate certain things because it's not beneficial for the community, right? If we live in a democracy, if the taxpayers themselves want to have security in their communities, it should be the job of our mayor and City Hall right across Canada in every city and community where they prioritize community safety first. If City Hall is so unsafe that they have to put up barricades to stop the decay they allowed and promote on taxpayer dime, then they have failed. And they should all be resigning. They should all be leaving and letting other people come in who actually care about the community. I lived in Old Nanaimo between 2020 and part of 2021. I was there during the first lockdown. We had over 200 people make a tent city up the road by City Hall. And within that 1 year, there were 3 homicides that we know of. One was on Christmas Eve. An old man was beaten to death behind the liquor store at the Occidental Pub, which was a block from where I lived. I was in Vancouver at the time, but I heard about it. I went, oh my God, I live right there. And then when I came back around Mother's Day, a police officer came over canvassing because a girl had been murdered in the bushes down by City Hall. So before they had the injection site there, where they had the tent city, it was already very, very dangerous. Okay? Really dangerous. I saw when I lived there violence almost all the time. I would say at least twice a week, walking down the street, I would see people fighting. Or somebody laying in a pool of blood, or somebody completely passed out on drugs and looking like they've been robbed with their wallet thrown, halfway across the street. So it was bad before. And to think that encouraging people to live that lifestyle would actually make things better is the kind of mindset that you would expect of somebody who is profiteering off of hard drugs and addiction, not somebody who's trying to protect communities. And this is where we're at right now in British Columbia and across Canada. We have municipal leaders, provincial leaders, and federal leaders who would rather keep people addicted to drugs because when they decriminalized the hard drugs, they turn around and put their insiders in as the drug dealers. We all know, folks, how much money hard drugs brings in. Now, can you imagine, from a political standpoint, when you've got politicians who not only get money helping to run safe supply programs, with either through them directly or through a third party or family member, not only are they getting money to run the safe supply program, they're turning around and then giving those safe supply pills to organized crime, who then resells them. So Big Pharma gets their cut, the government gets its cut. The drug dealer gets the cut, the government still gets a cut. And this is where we are at right now, folks. This is why you see at community events like Pride events for school in Nanaimo, where they were actually advertising drugs for kids. Take a look at the pictures, folks. It's unbelievable that they would actually promote the date rape drug to preteen kids at a taxpayer-funded Pride event. Taxpayer-funded public health, island health, right? The SAFER program. So all these programs that were supposed to be set up to help stop the addiction crisis are now promoting addiction as safe or safer if you use taxpayer-funded drugs. And the reason why we know that the government is in bed with this is because the government itself, British Columbia and federally, told us that safe supply would save lives. They told us injection sites would save lives. And when it came out that safe supply was actually killing children in terrible numbers, like really high numbers, the government covered it up. We were told before the October 2024 election by David Eby himself that anybody thinking that taxpayer-funded safe supply was being diverted in a big way onto the streets was promoting conspiracy theories. We now know the government spent at least $184 million in 2 years at a cost of $43,000 per safe supply recipient to provide pills to drug addicts. And we know millions and millions of those pills instantly were diverted directly onto the streets, making the pills as cheap as $1. So if you're a kid trying to escape, or, you want to party with your friends, and you look at beer, it costs $12 to $18 for a 6-pack. You look at a gram of pot costing $10 at the pot store. You can't even go into any of that. But you could go walk down the street and get a pill off of some guy for $1. You can imagine where kids are going. They're going to these safe supply pills. I warned in my memes. I said, look, they are literally calling it safe supply as a marketing ploy for children. Okay? We don't let people market cigarettes or vaping to children. We don't let people market alcohol to children. We do not let people market marijuana to children. In fact, we tax marijuana to keep the price high. We tax and hide cigarette sales so that kids can't buy them and so that they're too expensive to have. And we do the same thing with liquor stores. You can't walk into a liquor store as a 12-year-old kid and go buy a 6-pack. But the government seems to think that it is perfectly okay if children go and buy safe supply drugs on the streets, or even worse, get safe supply from a government-funded clinic like Foundry, okay? They think that's fine. So where's the mindset that would do that? Unless you're profiteering off of it. And that's exactly where we're at, folks. There is big money in keeping people addicted. And when our politicians are telling us they need to spend $410,000 to protect themselves from the very injection site they promoted and fund, while telling the rest of the community to fend for themselves, you know these people are now the drug dealers.